Okay, what's going on, guys? Let's go over the weekly tactics for those of you that want to get the most amount of wins. We've got a 4-4-2, 4-2-3-1 layout this week. We've got defensive formations, attacking formations, and balanced formations, different styles that will suit all of your gameplay needs. Now, let's start off with the first one, the phalanx formation. Hence by its name, it's the formation to close the game out. So let's say, for example, if you really want to go toward those 14, 15 win category, let's say you're winning at 70 minutes, you need a surefire way to close out the game. So we've got the 4-2-3-1. So as you can see in possession, it's a 4-2-3-1 wide. We got different formations in this week. We got the 4-4-2s, the 4-2-2-2s, the 4-2-3-1 narrow. But for the defensive end, we have 4-2-3-1 wide. Now, we got the build-up style on balance. Normally, I would always do counter, but since this is the formation to close the game out, the only thing I'm not doing is short passing, because by doing short passing, you're actually inviting pressure, because AI, you don't want players to come towards the ball carrier, because an AI will also then follow along and thus apply more pressure. So I'd rather have this on balanced, and then the defensive approach is on the lowest you could possibly have it before going to deep. Now, in case you're wondering, what do I do with all this role system? Now, in this formation, the most important thing is I have two CDMs. That was the most important thing. The 4-2-3-1, they have wide cams. You can't bring them back to defend. Hence why I had to use the 4-2-3-1 second variation. And one of the players is out of position. It's the striker. It's not the end of the world. The player's not going to come back anyway. And to be honest, being out of position, they stay forward. Maybe one of the few things, probably the only advantage of having someone out of position. But this is purely to close the game out. And this would be my defensive tactic to close the game out and finish off the game and win the match. Getting the win will be the most important thing with this formation. Do you want to get better at FC25? Now, before you skip ahead, what if I told you if you join my FC school and you didn't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money? I can say this because I've been running my FC school for many, many years, and thousands of students join and even stay on. We go over complete in-depth gameplay tutorials showing you both the theory of something and the gameplay examples using real-life examples in a structured format that's like a course. The videos on a systematic learning system teaching you everything from the core mechanics, the basics to the meta, so you can get better as a whole, with explanations that go beyond the scope of my YouTube channel. FC School has already started with every single tactical layout, focuses, meta cards, and learn the meta before it even becomes the meta. So come join thousands of others in a mature audience community for those looking to get better at FC25, patreon.com/nilguides, or click the link down below. Now, when you join, we already have a library of hundreds of videos, more than my YouTube channel, in fact, with new videos on FC25 getting constantly added, so you'll never run out of content. The biggest mistake people do is they spend thousands of dollars on FP points every year, thinking this will make them better, but it won't. But now it's time for you to make that change. Don't forget, if you don't get better after 1 month, just send me a message and I'll refund your money. That's the Nil Guides guarantee. Links down below in the description, patreon.com/Nil Guides. Then we move over to the 4-2-3-1. So you saw before was a 4-2-3-1 wide. This is the 4-2-3-1 narrow. And the reason why I explain is because you can't have that option. So what I wanted to do is you can't have this player effectively defensive. You can in a 4-2-3-1 second variation. You can put them as a wide midfielder. So I've got the 4-2-3-1 narrow. This would be the one that I would start the game with. We've got the build-up style on counter. The idea is when we get the ball going forward, those players will be making runs in behind. Our defensive approach, we put it at a very, very safe, conservative, but not defensive 45. It's quite balanced. The AI can still make those kind of auto presses, not auto offsides, but auto presses. They're not as passive. And we have the poacher for the striker. The cam we have as a shadow striker. And then for both the left mid and the right mid, or left attacking mid and right attacking mids, we have them both on half winger balanced. Okay, so they're still going to be coming back a little bit, but they're not going to be coming back all the way to help us like in the 4-2-3-1 second variation, the phalanx formation. We've got both our CDMs on holding defend as well. So this would be the formation that I start the game with. I'd always want to start a bit more passive and depending, because sometimes if you start a bit aggressive and you're up against a pro player and they start doing, as soon as you see kickoff and they start doing the kickoff glitch, you know you're going to be up against a bad match and a heavy match. So you don't want to concede. The most important thing is you don't want to concede first. So I kind of start with this formation, assess how my opponent is. And to be honest, depending on your skill level, for example, myself, of course, I trust my skill level. I could probably use this for the entire game. But if you copy these tactics and let's say you're using the 4-2-3-1 defend and you're struggling to create chances, then you can go to the 4-2-3-1 attack. Now, the only difference between these two is that the build-up style is basically the same. But what you can see is the wingers, or in this case, the half wingers, because these play like it kind of plays like a 4-4-1-1, this system. These half wingers, what it is, they're on attack, whereas these are on balance, so they're going to stay forward. We also have one CDM on deep line playmaker. And then if I switch to the attacking view, you can see, for example, I have Batcher as a false back. Now, you might be wondering, why isn't Batcher on the attacking wing back? I want to come over and come to that in a second. But effectively, this would be the more attacking layout. What we do have is Guijarro as a deep line playmaker. I have Guijarro there because I like her to be near the defense because I can pass the ball to her and then she can offload the lob through ball or the L1 triangle in behind to the wide players. That is why I've got her in a deep line playmaker. So the player that's got the best passing, the distributor of the ball, the person that kind of clicks everything together, that piece of glue, the best passer here, you put it there. So if you had like, I don't know, you had the Yaya Toure, for example, he would be that player, or the person, Bruno Fernandes, anyone like that. Now, the Batcher helps make a back three. So Batcher makes the back three, leaves the back three alone. So you got a back three and you got three midfield. So you can argue this basically turns into like a 3-3-3-1. So you're basically adding an extra player. So compare and also with the depth, they kept it the same. So the depth is not too aggressive. So what you basically done is we just made the previous formation more attacking. Now this is the most important thing. You will see sometimes in professional games, pros, they would pause the game and they will make these small minute changes. The best thing is your opponent doesn't know you're making these changes. You're making them on the fly. You're just making these small subtle changes. And let's say, for example, your opponent ends up, for example, trying to counter you. This is very high level, but let's say your opponent is very astute and they say, you know what? Let me put my right wing on stay forward or inside forward attack, for example. You can just switch back to this formation where you're defending in a 4 again, and then you can have that override. So that's the key thing. You want to be dynamic in your tactics and change it when there is time and there's a place. You got to be versatile in your systems. So that would be the more attacking variation. Let's say, for example, I'm using this formation and maybe I can't get through, or I need extra play in midfield, or I'm getting outnumbered, although that's quite rare in special formation. But let's say I'm up against a 4-1-2-on-2 second variation. Maybe I need an extra player inside the box. Then I would use the 4-2-3-1 attack. Then what about after this? Then we move over to the attack 4-2-2. Now, this is my favorite formation. A lot of people are saying they don't like this formation, but let me tell you something. All the top tier players and a lot of the pros are all playing it. Some of the best pros inside the game right now are using this as their main formations. Now, the truth is, I know you're not going to like this, but it's important I tell you candidly, it's a skill issue. This is one of the best tactics that I've created, I think, this year. The thing is, it's a very high level tactic. You need someone like Batcher, or at least an attacking wingback plus variation of a player to really help that movement. If you're wondering that your AI is standing there, you need to learn player runs like L1 triggers and creative runs and player locks. If you don't, it doesn't matter what tactics you use, your team are just going to be stagnant. They're going to stay there. It's very, very important to use AI movement. Check out my FC School videos for AI movement and L1 triggers. It's the most important thing this year. Now, this basically attacks in, you have 3 players at the back, you have 2 CDMs, and then you have a cam, and then we're basically attacking on the left-hand side. So with Foden being a playmaker roaming, in theory, Foden basically has the ability to play anywhere in this field. So sometimes what happens is Foden occupies the middle area. So what you end up having is, down the right-hand side, you're not attacking, but you're overloading on this side. So if you see, for example, teams in real life, sometimes they might predominantly attack on one side. So that's what I'm trying to do here. We've got Dembele as a shadow striker. So we've got Batcher providing the width over here. We've got Dembele, and then we've got Son. Then we've got Bonmati, ignore her for a second. And then we got Foden. Now, if I do change this tactic, this is if I'm losing 2-0. Now, to be completely candid, it's quite rare for me to be losing 2-0 when I'm try-harding. If I'm just messing around on a content account, but if I'm try-harding, unless I'm up against a top-tier player, it's not really going to happen too much. At 1-0, that's when I start sitting up and leaning forward, if that makes sense. But let's say, for example, I'm 2 goals down and I need to really get the goal back, then I would use this. And the reason why I like it is because you have CDMs, you still maintain that safe stability. So you're not going gung-ho. So you see the kind of the recurring thing you would see, for example, in these formations is that you have CDMs. I'm always having stability. The only formation in this system where I don't have CDMs, even in the phalanx, the one to close up the game, if you want to call it the park the bus, if you really want to call it that. The only one I don't have it is on the 4-2-4. Now, this is actually a replication of my 4-4-2 from yesterday. This would be my pressing tactic. So what I would probably do is, now what I do is I have the depth on 60. You can use 70, 75. Now I use a lot of manual pressing. I'm very, very good at manually pressing inside the game. So I use AI at a very lower rate than what most people do. But of course you can increase the line height. There's nothing wrong with it. But I press at a high level myself. But I also use the D-pad tactic, team press. So if I'm ever behind, I could just activate the D-pad tactic, team press with this tactic. Now, this is basically identical to my 4-4-2 from yesterday. The only difference is these are left wings and right wings. The benefit of left wings and right wings is that they have the inside forward roaming option. You see the inside forward roaming? You can only get this in positions where they're left wings and right wings, not left mids and right mids. So this would be the formation that, okay, let's say I really need to get the ball back. Let's say my opponent is passing the ball around, being defensive, then I will change to this formation. Now, me personally, I prefer when I'm being ultra aggressive to have a back four in shape, and I would always trigger these players forward the L1 button. If you want to, you can make both of these players playmaker attack, but I trigger those runs myself. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, attune it for your playstyle. You know, a lot of top tier pro players, they can put every single player on defend, because when they have the ball in possession with Kunde, they're doing a 1-2 and then they're triggering Tanari, then they're using a player lock to get Foden into space. You have to adapt depending on your ability and your knowledge. This is the most important thing, because I promise you, you can spend the entire next 6 months copying tactics. If you don't adjust it for your playstyle and make these changes, you're going to suffer. So it's very, very important. But that is what I'm using this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bit of a going back to the old school layout. As I said, it's very complicated now because, as you can see, like Bon Matic is out of position. So what it is normally when I start the game in a 4-3-2-1 and I have a 4-2-3-1 attack and then I have the phalanx formation, those are the formation I'm using most of the time. If Dembele is out of position, it's not the end of the world because I'm going to be defending with 2 CDMs and the playmaker is going to be at cam. I still want to have that counter-attack threat. That's why I don't go to like a 4-3-3 second variation. So 4-3-3 third variation with 2 CDMs. I can do that as well, but I actually prefer this formation. It gives me a good balance while still maintaining a threat, and also the goalkeeper can smack the ball to Bon Matic or Dembele as an outlet. And let's say, for example, if I'm really struggling, then what I would do, for example, is I would sub Bon Matic off, and I would put, for example, a player like Sam Kerr. So I've got Sam Kerr. She can play that role in strike for both the 4-2-4 and the 4-2-2. And at the worst case scenario, she ends up playing on the left-hand side. Like, let's say, for example, okay, I'm losing. I change to 4-2-2. I sub on Sam Kerr. And let's say, for example, I am winning now. I just go back to the phalanx formation and I put Sam Kerr in striker, and I move Dembele to the cam because Dembele can play the cam role. So finding the right players is also very, very important. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, to see a weekly tactic video like this every single week so you can stay ahead of your game. And don't forget, if you want to get better at FC, you come to my Patreon series, or you can click here. And remember, if you don't get better after 1 month, we'll refund your money. That's a no guys guarantee. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Patreon links down below in the description. I'll catch you next time. Peace.